why are we laying people off? The whole cause of the Great Resignation, where 76% of people wanted to quit and go somewhere else, is because now they realized they had choices, and leaders during the time that it mattered didn't show up.
I like to hire people with batteries included.
Anybody can recruit an unhappy person. I always say, go after the happy ones. They go, I'm happy here. I go, that's exactly why I'm talking to you. Because a lot of leaders don't set the expectation from the beginning of what it means to work there. Leadership can be very lonely.
Thank you for joining me. We did make it. I think we did speak about a year ago. Then I don't know.
Yeah, it's coming back to me because I know that you were. I mean, the executive search is such a. It's one of my favorite places actually to talk about.
Love it. I love it. Well, we could talk about exec search, but there was three big things actually that I wanted to talk to you about, given your experience of neuroscience, leadership, all of those things. But there's three big areas that everyone's talking about. Quite a few videos on TikTok and stuff. And so the three I want to talk to you and get your thoughts, perhaps from a leadership perspective. We've got this little phrase going around at the moment, which is commute or quit, which I quite like. So I wanted to just explore that with you from a leadership perspective, but also from an employee perspective, right? Because no one likes it when things get changed on them. So I wanted to explore that with you. Layoffs as well. There's an interesting video going around on TikTok. I don't know if you saw the Brittany video. So for context, maybe if no one saw it, I think a lot of people saw it. The lady videoed herself being laid off. And so there's a whole raft of things that go into that. So I wanted to explore that with you as well. And then the final thing, employee activism. And we've seen this in there's a SAP, well-known firm in Germany. The employees are not happy about being asked to go back to the office 3 days, 5 days, whatever. So we're seeing this kind of build-up of employee activism, and again, thinking from a leader's perspective, these are difficult moments in one's leadership journey, right? I mean, I wouldn't like to be the person that's asking my team to come back in 5 days a week when they're perfectly happy at home. So those three things I just wanted to explore with you and get your thoughts. And maybe first is commute or quit. Kind of what are you seeing? And then maybe if you're a leader asking people to come in, how would you go about doing that?
So let's define. So I want to make sure that I'm understanding this. Commute or quit. Can I understand your terms of what that means? Because I think I have my understanding of what it means over here, but I want to make sure I understand that.
No. So context is a lot of people have been working remote, flexibly, whatever it is. There's quite a lot of companies, mostly large firms, financial services, tech, that are asking their employees to come back to the office, which means that as an employee, you have a decision. You either commute and you go to your job, which is now 5 days a week back in New York City or wherever it might be, or you're like, hey, I'm out, and you quit.
So commute or quit, got it.
But so my accent's dreadful.
No, it's beautiful. I love it. So don't change a bit of it. So I think that when let's go back to what happened, right? So it's there's new names to all of this stuff, commute or quit, activism. This is all change at the end of the day. So the leaders need to think about this is a change process, no different than if we were switching their work hours from a rotating shift to a late night shift. It's a change. Or we're going to be making this product and we're going to be making that product. You're going to be working here. You're going to be using, this ERP. Now we're going to switch to SAP. It's a change process. And when we look at the brain, the process goes through the exact same thing in both areas. And so in both situations. And so it doesn't really matter what the external piece is from a leadership perspective to understand the experience. And then once we understand the experience, we can then look at how do we change our approach to that. So this concept of commute or quit, how was it created? Well, let's go before the pandemic. There was no option. We went to work and there was no other option. And now they said, well, we got to work from home. And all of a sudden work became comfortable. At first, home wasn't comfortable. Now work is comfortable. And so there's an interesting lesson that I was taught by the CEO of Visa a long time ago. He said, René, what do you get when you exceed a customer's expectations? Of course, I went down the path of like, well, I get a repeat customer. He said, no, you get a customer with higher expectations. And it was such a mind-blowing moment where you go, okay, now there's nothing wrong with that, but you have to understand that, you go to a steakhouse and they overcook your steak. You want it medium rare, they come up well done. They go, you know what? Manager comes out, gives great services. You know what? I'd like to comp the whole meal. This is on us. We apologize. We're blown away. We're like, wow, maybe we'll come back. But we come back and next time you go to a restaurant and they overcook your steak, what are you expecting? A comped meal. And so these things keep happening. And so it's no different. It's another form of entitlement where, in we all enter entitlement as humans. When we get used to one thing and it seems to be okay and it's functioning and you take that away, we're like, wait, what are you doing? We feel entitled to that feeling. And so now we're at home, we're comfortable, we get a little bit more flexibility. And some studies say it's better, some studies say it's worse. You're dealing with the same issue. And so this is where leadership comes into play. Where can you understand where people are at, have the empathy to understand that, and the transparency to say, here's what the business needs. And then to build and create the engagement and the inspiration to say, this is why we need to come back. That's the challenge that they're going to be facing. How can you make the case?
Yeah. What would you do and what advice would you give to someone that needs to make that case?
Well, I think
it's tough.
Yeah. Well, I think it's tough because it depends on the size of the organization, right? If you get a small business, these are one-on-one conversations. These are conversations that you need to understand. Here's what we need. And what you'll find is when you can share the reason and the rationale and the business need behind it, and there's a trust built with that person first, they're going to say, you know what, I know this sucks, but yeah, I do what's right for the business. And so there's the solution to this began beforehand. If you had no trust, you weren't communicating with your group, and now you're coming out of the woodwork, so you got to come back. Well, there's the whole cause of the Great Resignation, where 76% of people wanted to quit and go somewhere else, is because now they realized they had choices, and leaders during the time that it mattered didn't show up. Right. It's like the great movie Gladiator, when Marcus Aurelius' son, who was the heir to the throne, comes after the battle, and he shows up after everybody's dead, and they're cleaning up, like, oh, did I miss the battle? And Marcus Aurelius says, no, you missed the war, turns around and leaves. We never respected the leader that didn't show up during those times. And so hopefully, if they showed up during that time, they can go back and have these conversations. And they go, you know what, you were there for us. We want to be there for you. That's a human condition. People love being there for each other and for the people they trust. But if you were an absent leader and you weren't around and you weren't showing that, and then you come around and say, okay, now I need you to come back. I said, well, where were you during the war? We were out here fighting and doing all these things. And where were you? Now, the leader may have been fighting a different war, but if they didn't communicate that, that employee is going to build some other story in their head. Sure. And so the need for communicating those things is more critical than ever.
Very true. No, absolutely. I think building relationships with folks is paramount. And when you get to that point, you can say anything to anyone as long as you say it in the right way, right? But if you have that relationship and that trust, you're in a really good spot. Looking at it from the other perspective of something being taken away from you, because I think this is, as we said, it's give and take, right?
Right.
Leader, employee, team members, you want to be all in it together, right? What advice would you give for people that they're really quite happy at home and doing well? And there's a lot of dialogue around, it's the classic, I'm doing really well at home, I can't understand why they want me back. This is the kind of classic conversation that's going round and round. What would you, what perspective should they have on this?
Well, I would say let's take who do you want to be in the organization? If you're an employee working somewhere, do you want to grow? Do you want to be promoted? Do you want to be seen as a potential leader and as somebody that they want to bring on more leadership roles? If that's the case, then you need to take on a leadership ownership sort of mentality. And a leadership ownership mentality does not think what's comfortable first. They go, what does the business need first? And so if you don't want that, then I get it. We'll talk about that in a minute. But if you want to be that, then you have to make that mental shift to say, it's not about whether I want to be at home or not. What does the business need? And if I'm your leader and I'm like watching this person saying, they go, I'm comfortable at home, but what does the business need? Let's do that. That's the kind of person I want in the trenches. That's the kind of person I want to promote, as long as they have the skills, correct? But if I'm looking at growing this business and I got somebody that's just complaining because they want to be at work or they want to be at home and they're comfortable there, unfortunately, they're probably not going to be part of the conversation around promotion. And that's one of the hard truths of life. And so, but let's say that you're comfortable, which is totally fine. We all want different things, by the way. So this isn't a judgment about it's better or good. It's like, it's like you want something off the shelf, you pay a price for it. Some people want bigger things, and there's a bigger price for bigger leadership. That's it.
Yeah.
But some people saying, you know what, my family's more important, which, by the way, kudos to you. You have found something that works. So if that's the case, then you still have a leadership challenge. You have a leadership challenge of saying, how are you going to build a case that you are more productive and more valuable at home? So that person needs to be able to build the case. So you still need to be able to say, how do you answer the business need? Because unfortunately, whether we like it or not, that we are serving a business, and that business serves us by paying us a salary to do a certain thing. And those are certain realities that we can't get away from. And let's say that you don't like the business, you don't like the leader. Well, then you have another totally different choice to make, which is what change are you going to make? And where else are you going to work? And, if I'm a recruiter listening to this, I'm looking for those people, where the leaders didn't show up, because a recruiter can come in and paint a new picture of a new possibility.
Oh yeah. I spent my whole career poaching people from companies, and happy people are way harder to move. Fact.
And which is why they call you a hunter. You got to hunt for those.
That's it.
Yeah. Anybody can recruit an unhappy person. But I always say, go after the happy ones. They go, I'm happy here. I go, that's exactly why I'm talking to you. I want you to bring your happy here. But let me explain to you why I think we're worth it. And so, but if you're only going after the ones that are wounded, they're going to bring those wounds also. And so it's a different mindset.
Absolutely. And for leaders, just generally, the way you make people happy, it's relationships, it's leaning in with empathy, it's building that trust. They're the things, money's, it's there, but never the top few things. So, no, I love that. There's a just kind of forwarding on from that. There's an interesting, I'm going to go back to TikTok because there's some interesting videos on TikTok. And I know you yourself have a nice TikTok account. There was a young guy, and he was asked to attend an 8 a.m. meeting with his leader. I don't know if you saw this. So they said, "Hey, can you come attend the 8 a.m. meeting?" The guy turns around and says, "I'm not coming to the 8 a.m. meeting. I have a gym session. I don't want to miss my gym session." Right?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're going to pay me? You pay me 9 to 5. You're going to pay me for the extra hour? So you can imagine there's, people are weighing in on both sides, and the argument for the employee is it's disgraceful, and these companies shouldn't be asking the guy for an early meeting, and the other side is kind of similar to the point you raised earlier. It's you've got to be there for people. You've been included in the 8 a.m. meeting. This guy is perhaps excluding himself. But I think, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but I think for me, just maybe overarching this is, to your point, it's the relationship, right? If you have a good relationship with your leader, with your team member, you don't have this kind of scenario.
You just don't. You don't. But this is the classic generational clash in this. This is a very classic generational issues, and there's a case for both, right? There's a case for both. Now, personally, there's an understanding that applies to both as well, is that the business exists and needs to exist so that I can get paid. And that's something that a lot of people forget. And if you've never been an entrepreneur, you don't realize if there's no revenue, if people aren't there to run the business suffers. Therefore, it has to make changes, unfortunately, and lower costs. That is just the reality of how business is run. I didn't make those rules. But if you choose to play in the business world, there are certain rules that have to be, the business has to be profitable. And guess what? So do our families. We need to be profitable. And if we're not going to be happy when we get older. We won't be able to do the things we want with our kids. And so profitability can't be a demon either. Being profitable at the expense of people, yes, very bad. But running a solid, fiscally sound business is important. So there's lots of factors to consider here. One is there trust? Like you nailed it. If there's trust and there's a relationship, these conversations don't happen. And the other piece too is a lot of leaders don't set the expectation from the beginning of what it means to work there. And a lot of leaders will try their best to make it comfortable the first 90 days, and instead of making it clear the first 90 days. And I did this with a leader, and he was having an issue with one of his leadership members. He would always show up 15, 20 minutes late, optional meetings. And the CEO was just furious. And I just said, have you set this expectation? He knows it's important to me. I go, well, tell me about day one. And then the leader stops. He goes, he showed up 15 minutes late. I go, first meeting, huh? And I go, so why didn't you say anything then? He goes, I guess I didn't want him to feel uncomfortable. And he goes, oh my God. I go, so now you set this, the standard day one. He went day one and nudged that standard, realized that standard was nudgeable. You didn't say anything. So over time, they built this from what your expectation and need was. They nudged it all the way over here. Now they have this 30-minute window. And then now 6 months or a year later, you got to come back and push it, and they fight you because the entitlement has been created.
Yeah.
You set expectations 2 weeks prior to day one. They're enforced day one. And they're enforced heavily, as long as you're clear on values and everything. And it doesn't be yelling and screaming, but stopping the meeting, pulling the leader aside privately and saying, look, it's day one. You've shown up late. Is this going to be a pattern? Because if it is, we're going to solve this right now. We won't work together. And that's a day one conversation. And even prior to day one, I would be saying, hey, by the way, let's say, Lewis, we're going to meet in 2 weeks. See back here, our values. One of those is commitment to excellence. And one of those commitments to excellence is being on time, being really clear on time. And so I just want to tell you ahead of time, if you're late, that's not how we function here. And if you're late day one, I'm going to tell you what our conversation is going to sound like. And it's not going to be a nice one. I'll probably say, hey, Lewis, it's day one. You showed up late. You're already behind the 8 ball. Did I make a mistake in hiring you? Because clearly you're not listening to what our standards are. That's day one. So now, Lewis, I don't want to have that conversation. Just make sure 15 minutes early. Be on time here. You're a leader. I expect you to be on time. People are going to be looking at you. It's one of the reasons why I really liked you. There's setting clear vision, expectation, boundaries, while empowering at the same time. And if they don't show up, you don't fire them. They fired themselves.
Yeah.
It's like playing football or a sport. Say, here's out of bounds. And they run out of bounds. I told you ahead of time that was out of bounds. Now you're disqualified. I didn't do that. You did it to yourself.
If I just go even further back in the recruiting process, it's so important to communicate effectively. Just off the bat. Because so many people you speak with, I'm like, hey, how's it going? And like, wow, it's not really what I expected, or it wasn't what they described, or, fill in the blank, so to speak. Yes. And a big hack is just communicating, even if it's, if you go like Elon Musk style, come work here as 24/7, 7 days a week. Are you up for it? Yeah. Or an investment bank, you're in for the long hours. A lawyer, there's certain things where you just know off the bat, you get paid well and you're in. And so for recruiting off the bat, and then, you hire them. Hopefully you can avoid those day one difficult conversations, because really you want to be you don't want to be having that chat on day one.
Well,
I've got this little corny sorry, just to finish up, I think I've got this little corny phrase. It's like, I like to hire people with batteries included. So that means different things to different people, right? But for me, it's like, who wants to buy a toy and go to the shops to get the batteries, right? I mean, nightmare. So for me, it's, I want an A+ human. I really value attitude over anything, like will. That classic Simon Sinek will skill thing. You want someone that's high will. As a leader, you don't want to have to really, I don't think, motivate someone, right? You want to hire someone that is motivated and inspire them.
Yes.
So, there's certain things that I look for. That's one of them. This is why I think
batteries included. That's so well said. Because I'll give you two perspectives. If I'm a leader, I need to realize that my recruiters are the ones setting the expectation to the work, and they need to be crystal clear on my expectations, and in terms of what to show up, because those promises made are so critical. And sometimes you get recruiters that are so ambitious on getting the commission that they forget about the employment and things. And then if I'm a recruiter, you want to stand out as a recruiter. You say, hey, before I recruit, I want to know your non-negotiables and what it is, because I want to be able to set your vision and plan and be able to communicate that when I'm out there. I want to be able to inspire them from day one. So when they showed up, I love it. Batteries are included. Oh, that's if you're not writing that one down, like that is such a critical piece in the context to say, I want to make sure the batteries are included when I bring somebody there. So you don't have to do any extra work. It's like, that's just huge. I couldn't agree with you more.
Thank you, thank you. And it's like to your point, if you're communicating with the recruiter, you have recruiters, internal or external. Their job is storytelling, right? Our
Yeah.
job is to find out, whatever all the different components of the job, and share your story. And so it's so important you communicate that with your recruiters, whoever's out there speaking with candidates. Really so important. I want to move on to layoffs, if I may. It's also it's been such a big thing this last year. We've seen a lot of layoffs, specifically in tech and financial service and a few others. And clearly the ones that have done it badly have made it onto social media, which is probably why we talk about it so much. But what are your thoughts on how to do what is a very difficult task?
Oh gosh, that's such a broad topic. Why are we laying people off? Were you communicating that before? Are you laying off underperformers? Were they clear on the expectations? I mean, there's so many different pieces. Part of the biggest, I think, unintentional lie that leaders make is that we get paid for performance. And it's not intentional because you think, well, I pay them for performance. Well, what if there's no budget? You can perform at the top of the game, but there is no money. I can't pay you for that performance because there's just no budget. And so and that's why, a lot of the employee review programs and systems are so off, because you ask them, one, everybody hates doing employee reviews. Managers hate conducting them. And then when you do the assessment and say, okay, why is that the case? They say, well, HR is making us do it. I said, okay, you go to HR. I said, why are we doing this? Well, legal's making us do it. So it does nothing to empower the organization. You wait 6 months to tell them how they're doing so that they've realized that they're failing. It takes time and energy. It hurts morale. And so now there's this process. So I don't even know where I stand. If I'm surprised that I'm not performing, then there's been a big misstep on the leadership communicating that. I should be knowing that from day one. It's like the old example from the 1 Minute Manager. You have a hard time motivating people, and you pay them to come to work, and then you figure out, how do we motivate them? Well, you paid them. Well, that doesn't work. But take them bowling. Give them this big ball, have them rolling down, and if they hit those pins down, they lose their minds. They didn't get paid. Why? Why is it they get so excited in that moment and they don't get excited at work? I said, well, they visually see the pins go down. Well, all right, let's do this. Let's put a blanket over those pins and have them roll down. They go, how'd I do? Well, we'll tell you in 6 months. That game, even if a week, I'll tell you in a week, that game would not be fun because there's no feedback loop. And so one of the secrets is saying, how do you have immediate feedback in a situation? Now, that catches people off guard because they're not ready for something like that. You're off base. Yes, you're off base. Nope, that's not working. Well, what? Well, would you rather me wait for 6 months of you being off base, or we fix it now? And so that's part of the leadership communication and setting the expectations from day one in that process and there. And so the layoffs, a lot of times we'll see organizations that will announce the layoffs to Wall Street or to the newspapers because they're trying to show that we're making the right decisions. Well, we saw this one time 15 years ago, Volkswagen announced they were getting rid of like 10,000 people. We haven't figured out who they are yet, but we're making choices. But now they get 100,000 people, all of which thinking something might be them. What happened to productivity? Dips. What happened to stock price? Goes up. But then the productivity catches up, and then it has a massive dip after that part. And so there's all sorts of research that shows that. And so looking at those pieces in terms of layoffs, there's a couple different elements. One, making sure you have the relationships, all the stuff we talked about. But let's say that you have to do it anyways. Yeah. There's going to be an aftermath of emotion in the organization. And that aftermath of emotion needs to be dealt with. It needs to be processed some way, shape, or form. And so if the leader does nothing to process that emotion, the people will do it on their own at the water cooler, on breaks, in private meetings. And what happens when they're doing that? Productivity-wise, nothing. No productivity, because they're not working. They're dealing with the emotions that we think, oh, they should just not feel that way. No, they're humans. Our clients, what they do is we've got a process that we call 4 on the floor. And you can make this up on your own. You don't need us for it. But there's only 4 human emotions that matter at work: mad, sad, glad, and scared. So I'm mad, sad, I'm happy, and I'm scared. If you think about those are the 4 emotions that are easiest to deal with, like the primary colors. When something like that happens, and let's say it's a big layoff, we'll take the survivors. They have survivor guilt. and we'll put those 4 feelings on the floor. Instead of having them talk about how they feel, stand where you feel. Some people are glad, some people are mad, some people are sad, and some people are scared. As a leader, can spend 45 minutes and saying, okay, why are you guys mad? Well, I'm mad because we didn't do the right things, and I'm mad because I lost, just really, I thought we had a bigger vision than this, and it's just really frustrating. The leader just listens. All right, why are you sad? Well, I lost one of my best friends. We used to come to work together, and I spend more time here than I do with my home family, and I feel like I lost a brother, and it's really hard. Why scared? Well, I'm scared that we might have more coming. I was scared that, am I going to be losing my job? Why glad? Well, I'm glad that we made these decisions now because we're preventing having to do this in the future. So the leader gets all this information, one, but people also get a chance to offload in a safe and structured environment the humanness of who they are. And if you're a leader that doesn't believe that people have emotions, you need to start there and wake up. That is not the case. We have a human emotion. We all do. And now, your job as a leader is to provide a space to be able to do that. Now, once that's done, we say, okay, here's where we are. What you'll find is that people will feel so different that the organization gave them a chance to at least be heard. I don't need you to do what I say. I just need to be heard. And people fear that moment because they think that they're going to have to do everything that the people feel. No, they just need to feel like they've been heard. Then now the leader says, okay, now that we've all been here, and they can empathize with them, I think 3 things: empathy, transparency, and authority. Empathy, I want to say first, thank you guys for sharing this. I also feel scared and glad and mad. I feel all of these things. Transparency. And if I could have not done this, I would have. Unfortunately, we had no choice. Authority. Now, what we all need to do is get clear. The best way to avoid this stuff happening in the future is by being as productive as we could be now. So I need to ask you, what is your bridge to glad? What do you need to do to make yourself feel glad here at work? And you watch people step into their leadership, and you watch 1 or 2 people say, you know what I need to do is I want to make 10 more phone calls this week. One person say, you know what, I need to do a better job of connecting with some of the people that maybe feel lost right now. I need to create the space for my team. And say, all of a sudden, now you get all this proactive nature. 45 minutes versus weeks of people talking on a disparate basis and with no control. So there are ways that you can do it.
Love that. Following on from that, I speak to a lot of leaders, and I'm quite interested in, where does the go-to person go to when they need help, right? Because all these layoffs, it's tough for the leader. If you're not on the board, but you're a leader, you're a manager, whatever level that you're at. Even if you're a first-time leader, it's hard, and it can be quite a lonely spot, especially if you've been asked to do these things. Any advice for those folks? Just, a little bit lost. You don't really want to tell your leader you're struggling. How would you go about doing it?
Well, this is the reality that leadership can be very lonely. And it's lonely for lots of reasons. One is, to become a leader, you have to do things that a lot of people are not willing to do, right? You make sacrifices that some people aren't willing to make. You study harder, you stay up longer, you work longer hours. But also you're taking on a responsibility that not everybody wants. That's a pressure that not everybody wants. Whether it's financial, you got payroll, you're looking at X amount of dollars you need to be in the bank every single month. You need to make sure that P&Ls are in place. You're dealing with investors, you're dealing with other people. So it's a very different place. And you have to make sure that you're leading and inspiring and displaying the behaviors. And so if you're having a down day and you communicate your down day in the wrong way, you can also bring the organization down. And so there are certain things about transparency that you need to be, there's certain things that you need to be able to communicate, but a lot of the things that are the human parts of who we are, the small little doubts in oneself. You don't go to the organization, guys, I'm doubting myself as a leader and CEO. You can't do that, because we also know that's momentary, and that's a personal issue. That's why I'm a big fan of CEO consortium groups and leadership peer groups, because you get a bunch of people that are in the room that face the same challenges. They can create a safe space and discuss some of the challenges, but then you also get some of the other perspectives from other people that are facing the issues that you're facing. And so finding those peer groups, finding those trusted sources that you can go to, I think having a strong coach, a strong mentor in your life that might not even be in the business, that has been there before, that you can go to and say, I'm starting to doubt myself. And you go to them, they're not going to judge you. They're going to help you. And they're going to ask you the right questions. They're going to remind you who you are, or they're going to, set you straight and give you the swift kick in the butt that you need, or they're just going to listen. And then you kind of solve it on your own. But yeah, we all need an outlet. No one is immune to that stuff.
Yeah, 100%. And also it can feel lonely, but so many people are going through the same thing,
Yes.
So I love that. You put your head above the parapet and, look for these groups and support. I quite like building a personal board of directors,
Mm.
folks, positive people around you, not always saying yes, different perspectives, skill sets and
Totally.
stuff, just to give you a little bit of support. I think is such a valuable thing to do.
We all need that. I've got mine. One of my mentor calls starts as soon as we finish this, and he was the owner of. If you've ever seen the movie Jerry Maguire, Show Me the Money, he was the owner of
Yeah.
that agency, number one sports agency in the world. And he and I became friends. We were doing work together, but I was helping him, he's helping me, and I just said, you know what, you have a certain skill set that I don't have. I want to make this official. And he was like, I'd love to. And we meet 20 minutes twice a month, and
Brilliant.
it's a very intense 20 minutes.
I love that. I can imagine. But also just, to that point you asked, and I think, if listening to this, ask someone. Most people will say yes. 20 minutes a couple of times a month, or once a month, or once every couple of months, whatever. People are always happy to help. I think it's a nice thing to do. René, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Good
My
to
pleasure.
chat finally. Feels like we need to do this again. It went quick.
I would love to. I love the topic, and I love
Appreciate
what
your
you're doing.
insights.
Yeah, I love what you're doing. Love the topic. This is such a good thing that you're doing, and especially bringing these kinds of ideas to people that are out there searching for good talent.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a great one, and look forward to doing it again.
Thank you so much, Lewis. Have a great day.
Thank you. Have a good one.